Yo, what's going on, guys? Mush back at it with another video. Want to highlight some major games that are dropping on Steam soon, from a publisher that I don't know if they're everybody's biggest fan these days, but want to talk a little bit about it. And then, of course, we do have yet another Last of Us Part 1 patch on the way. Actually been playing through the game on PC. Don't ask me why. It's just a game that I love, and even through the poor performance, I've been playing through it. I'm like literally right at the end of the game. So want to talk about my experience at the end of this video. Absolutely still have a litany of issues. It's a stuttering mess. I don't even know why I'm putting myself through it, but nonetheless, we're doing it. We'll talk that at the end of this video. But first of all, Ubisoft games, of course, returning to Steam, and we have a batch of major titles that will be returning to Steam here very shortly. So let's go through all of them. Far Cry 6 will be dropping on May the 11th. So this is a title that released, it's been a couple years. I want to say it came out back in 2020, 2021? Yeah, 2021. It saw a couple delays and then it ultimately released in 2021. So it'll be on its way to Steam. Riders Republic will be dropping on June the 8th. Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Extraction will be dropping on June the 15th. And then Monopoly Madness will be dropping on June the 22nd. Now, as far as these games go, Far Cry 6 is probably the biggest one. Yeah, I would say it's by far the biggest one in all honesty. It is insane to me how these games have been returning to Steam, and I get the idea that they've been out for a long time. Like, when Valhalla dropped on Steam, the game had already been out for, 2 years at that point? Over 2 years. Probably, closer, like, two years and, change. And, it dropped on Steam, and it got very, very little fanfare. And again, I get it's an older game, but you did have all the updated content roll out, and it was at a discount, but the game still had very little attention. And maybe that is just a statement on Ubisoft titles in general these days, because you see, some of the Epic Game Store titles drop on Steam and they'll have a little bit of traction, but these Ubisoft titles also had a pretty mediocre reception as far as their Steam releases when you're talking about the lack of achievements and everything like that. But what's wild to me is the fact that you have gargantuan IPs here in Assassin's Creed and Far Cry, and do you remember when the older Assassin's Creed games would be released directly on Steam? The older Far Cry games, and you're talking about a landscape where PC gaming was far smaller than it is now, but they would have much more appeal. If anything, to me, I feel like these games should be dropping on Steam on day one. I get it that you want to create your own launchers, but so many, except for Epic Game Store, and they're signing these big deals. They have a lot of money on hand, but you're talking about Rockstar, them releasing games, they ultimately come back to Steam. Blizzard.net and Activision, their games were dropping on Steam, and they weren't doing all too well. Now their games are on Steam, and look at the difference between Call of Duty on Steam and Call of Duty on Battle.net. The reception was totally different when Call of Duty actually had a day one release directly on Steam. I feel like that's what we need to get happening regularly with these Ubisoft games, and it would be unfortunate if upcoming Ubisoft games also were relegated to just Uplay, and ultimately the games still go through the Ubisoft launcher. Let's not, mince words here. They still go through the launchers. Even EA titles, they mostly go through the EA app. I know Dead Space Remake was a bit of an exception to that rule, but that was the only exception. I believe Star Wars is going to be going through the EA app as well. But the visibility, having your game on Steam, it's a no-brainer to have these games on Steam. Is the money that you're keeping creating your own launcher and releasing your games on there worth it to, strip away the appeal and the marketing that Steam is going to give? I just don't think it's worth it. I get it that they do want to get their own launchers off the ground, and sometimes it is a bit of a loss leader where you're gonna take the L on the revenue for each of those releases, but it's ultimately to build up said launcher. But I just think, man, just roll your games out on Steam, focus on creating good games, get as many people to play the games themselves as possible, and worry less about, your launcher popping off or whatever. That would be an ideal case scenario. Is that gonna happen? I don't know. And especially with a game like Riders Republic, where it is so multiplayer focused, you want to get as many people playing those games as possible, especially also Rainbow Six Extraction. You want to get as many people playing a game like that as possible with such a big focus on its multiplayer, and a limited player base is not going to do you any wonders. Monopoly is what it is, whatever. I don't see that doing very well on Steam, but even though Assassin's Creed had a mid-reception, Far Cry 6 is probably going to have, a relatively mid-reception. Get these games out on day one, and I feel like the narrative would be completely different, but we'll see if that ultimately does happen. Moving on from that, I do want to note that Naughty Dog left out a tweet back on April 21st. Our team is working on patch 1.0.4 for The Last of Us Part 1 on PC, which will be available next week. It'll include frame rate optimization, graphical and texture fidelity improvements, crash fixes, and more. Now, I wanted to talk about this news because, yes, atrocious port aside, Naughty Dog has been diligent in terms of updating consistent patches, and from what I could tell when I played it on day one to playing it now as I am playing through the game, the performance is better. Like, it's playable to, like, the playable is obviously a little bit of a subjective term. Like, what's playable to me might not be playable for you, and what's playable for you might not be playable for me, etc., etc. But playing through the game, yes, there's a bit of stuttering. The frame rate is definitely not as good as it should be on an RTX 3080. I am playing the game on the high preset, and there's a couple of weird bugs and glitches here, but I've been really enjoying the game from the standpoint that Last of Us Part 1 is a phenomenal game, and it's like the kind of game that is right up my alley and that I really enjoy. And I've had a great time with it, and just, you know, going through the Last of Us story again, you know, there are some finer details that I missed out on, or I just didn't remember because it has been a while since I played through The Last of Us. I play it every now and again, but going through it again, it's just a fantastic experience, and Joel is one of my favorite main characters in a video game ever, so, you know, just going through that whole story, the gameplay I think is great. Sometimes the gameplay is unfortunately hampered by the performance issues, so that's a little bit of a bummer, but for the most part, it still looks pretty good. I wish I could play it at 1440p completely maxed out, but them's the breaks. I can't do that, so that's a little bit of a bummer, but overall the game is still so good. But, you know, with a game like this, what you absolutely do is you wait probably 6 to 12 months, wait for all of the patches to roll out, see how it is then, and then you buy the game 75% off for $14.99. Do not be giving them a full $59.99 for this game. I don't care how much they've patched it, they do not deserve your $60. Get it at $15. I know that's what a lot of people did with Horizon Zero Dawn, as well as that game had a litany of issues on PC right out the gate, and while it's not perfect on PC nowadays, you're talking about spending, what, $15 on the game while it's on sale, and you're getting a much better experience than it was at launch. Hopefully, this is, you know, time for a little bit of course correction with Sony. They fumbled with Horizon, but then you look at Days Gone, God of War, Spider-Man, Spider-Man Miles Morales, even Returnal. I know Returnal had some issues, but for the most part, it was rather good. Like, they had a lot of great PC ports, one after the other, and then it just sucks that their solid momentum was halted by Last of Us Part 1. Hopefully whatever's next, whether it be Ratchet Rift Apart, Ghost of Tsushima, I don't know. Hopefully the next one is another killer port, because we've seen that if Nix is at the helm, you see with Spider-Man, whoever did God of War, whoever did that, they did a great job with that. So they obviously have the capabilities to do high-quality ports, but let's hope that's the case going forward. And hopefully we get Horizon Forbidden West soon on PC, because the Burning Shores expansion came out, and you see the footage of that on PS5, man, does it look tremendous. So it will look great on PC as well. But that'll do it for me. Again, a lot of Ubisoft games making their way on over to Steam. You got Assassin's Creed Valhalla, you got Far Cry 6, you got Riders Republic, Rainbow Six Extraction, Monopoly Madness. I should say Valhalla is already available, so yeah, there you go with that. And it looks like the Last of Us patches will continue to roll out. One is going to be available this week, so yeah, be on the lookout for that. Hopefully the experience gets better and better. That's going to do it for me. Let me know all your thoughts in the comments section down below. As always, thanks for watching, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace out. Hey, what's going on, guys? Mush here again. Hope you enjoyed the video. As you guys might know, YouTube's notification system is sometimes a little bit wonky, even if you're subscribed to the channel. Maybe you're not abundantly aware that I uploaded a video. To remedy that situation, make sure you hit the bell notification button. This way, whenever I upload a new video, and I try to upload as consistently as possible, you will be notified directly of the upload, and you can watch it as soon as it goes live. I would really appreciate if you guys hit that button so you can stay up to date with all of the content I'm posting. But as always, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.